Have you ever felt like there's something, a deep desire for you to build something of your own? That's why it's important to learn how to leverage your skills and ability to build a business where you can use and actually market yourself with video. Today, we have Jiminez with us, and he has learned how to leverage his skills for video and marketing to build his business. He's been in rooms with entrepreneurs and big-time business owners. He's the owner of Visual Collection, a video marketing agency that is geared to help people and help you find your voice.
Every single business has an idea of what they want to do, but if you're a creative, you have the ability to bring that into life. And that's one of the greatest gifts that God can give somebody, man. So I think I realized that, that, hey, one, I can use this camera to get into rooms with people that, traditionally I would not really be able to be in rooms with. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? But if that's true, then a video is worth 1,000,000.
Do you have some kind of framework strategy that you use to take someone from 20K a month to 100K a month? So welcome to the Creative Den Pod. My name is Akin Akinwande, and we interview people who have leveraged their skills and ability to build something. So welcome to the pod, man.
What's up, man? It's good to be here, bro.
Good to be here. How you doing?
Fantastic, man. Fantastic.
Good. It's good to have you here, bro. It's good to have you here. So we've been having this conversation of having you on the podcast, and here you are.
Yeah, man. It's good to be here, bro. Obviously we are both in the creative world. You're a creative director also.
Yes,
so
sir.
Excited to chat it up about all things creative,
All
man.
things creative.
Business, everything else. So
Yeah, man.
Excited.
Yeah. So we talk about, just leveraging your gift. The first question I got for you, let's just dive right into this thing, is you figured out the cheat code, basically.
A little bit.
A little bit, which is you're building something and you're using your skill to build it. Why video?
Dude, I think it's funny because I was in real estate before this, right? And I wasn't happy, right? And I never would have thought in my life that video was going to be like the solution, right? But to answer your question, why video, man? It's because it's like when you have a camera, right? Specifically a camera that can create some sort of vision, it's the number one skill that every single person needs, Every single business has an idea of what they want to do, but if you're a creative, you have the ability to bring that into life. And that's one of the greatest gifts that God can give somebody, man. So I think I realized that, that, hey, one, I can use this camera to get into rooms with people that, traditionally I would not really be able to be in rooms with. But yeah, man, I think it's just a beautiful thing to be able to create something from nothing, which is really the definition of entrepreneurship. But I think it's also the definition of a video creator, right? It's like you're literally creating something out of nothing.
Yeah, no, that's cool because you said it's the number one skill that people should have. It's video. Why? That's a bar, by the way. That's a bar. I mean,
Thank you, man.
We're in this video world, in this digitized world right now, and it's not going anywhere.
No.
The use of AI is even growing as well. So why do you think businesses need video to market themselves?
They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? But if that's true, then a video is worth 1,000,000, right? Because you got to think that from the dawn of time, the way we've communicated through is stories, right? So back in the day, it was like over the campfire. That's kind of how we were telling stories, right? And it starts progressing where you start seeing, obviously print, like magazines, that kind of issue. Radio, you start seeing TV commercials. And with social media really coming on board, man, like it's made that accessibility, right? Of like before you'd spend, I don't know, $100,000 on a commercial for this company, right? And like that was the access point. But now it's like, dude, anyone who really has, the creative skills, even with just an iPhone, right? Like you create something really creative, can get the attention of a lot of people, man. And I think that's why video specifically, right, is the number one skill because you're using like that as a avenue, right, as a format. Where before, like I said, it was like stories and like campfires, but now it's like, dude, anyone really with like a video camera on their phone can go out and communicate to the world like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm building. And this is why it's going to help you, right? This is why you should care and buy into it. And, the growth that can come from even just one video, man, like placed the right way can dramatically increase like sales for a company.
For sure. No, that's really cool, man. So you focus on helping your clients find their voice. How did you find your voice?
Dude, it was really a process, man, I think, of like the more that you go through failures, right? The more that you realize that, I don't know, those failures, they don't define you, right? Like that's not the right word, but they do help kind of refine you. They help you get clear on what's not for you. And I think the more that I was going through business, man, and like realizing, hey, you know, like I said, real estate wasn't for me, or going to traditional school route wasn't for me, and realizing what wasn't for me through those quote unquote failures, I really realized like, man, like I've got a unique voice, a unique path that I've taken that's not the same as everybody else's. And I really do think when it comes to branding, like that's the key differentiator, right? Is there's this collection of things that you've gone through, right? And those things are what make you different.
Right.
And that's what should be included in your brand voice is you have all these different experiences, right? And like when we're helping clients find their voice, you really do dive deep on, hey, like, who are you?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
well, let's break it down.
Yeah.
How do you help them find a voice? If you have like steps or formats or whatever that you break down.
So basically, right, the biggest thing is like you kind of dive deep on what's happened before. So maybe think 3 to 5 years, or if someone's a little bit older, right, maybe a little bit more than that. But it's like, hey, what made you even start this route? No matter what it is you're in, whether it's sales, whether it's business, whether it's a landscaping company, a creative company, like why, right? And then that's what uncovers a little bit more of the layers. We were like, okay, like, cool. All right. Well, why did that speak to you? You know, like, what's your background? Like I was asking you earlier, right? I'm like, hey, how did you even know that, you know, you're going to school for example, like you were saying, like psychology, how'd you even think about this as even a business avenue or like a way to make money, right? And that's when you dive deeper on, okay, who am I as a person, right? And also like what values through me, right? Like, am I gonna also like portray in my business, right? Because I think a business is really a living entity in itself, right? That you give some sort of like personality to, and that personality, a lot of times in the beginning is like kind of based on the owner, but it's like really uncovering like, hey, how do we communicate with the world, right? What are our values? What do we do? Yeah. But I do also think it's like, you know, the other side of that when we're helping people find their voice is like who you're talking to, right? Your audience. Your audience. Like you figured out who you are, right? Which is good because you need stories to be able to like resonate with people and connect with people. But like, what does your audience really care about, and who are you talking to, right? And if we're talking to creatives on this podcast, for example, right? It's like, okay, what do creatives go through, right? What are their issues? Yeah. What do they feel? Like, how, I guess the biggest thing that I think a brand can do, right, to be a really effective brand is you have to make someone feel seen, heard, and understood, right? And if you can figure out how to unpack that and kind of reverse engineer that, right, when it comes to, for example, creatives, it's like, okay, how do we help them feel seen, heard, and understood, right? There's a lot of like, I think things we go through as creatives that frustrate us, right? So those frustrations can help, you know, a brand connect more because they're like, yo, like, yeah, I feel that, you know, when clients are being like this, or when, you know, equipment fails like this, or whatever, right? So I think it's really, in a nutshell, you know, I think that's what a good brand voice does is you help connect to that person, right? And help them feel seen, heard, and understood. But it's important to have those two layers of it where it's like, I understand myself a little bit better, right? And like why I'm even speaking in the first place. And also I understand who I'm speaking to.
Ooh. Came out with the 1-2 punch. We're just 5 minutes in.
We're not playing around here, bro. We're not playing around here.
Nah, that's good, man. Like, and I feel like I went through that journey. Honestly, that's why I started this podcast, because I felt like I've gone through layers of things. I know that there's something within me that I could communicate to people and to creatives per se, because I've been a creative my entire life. I started with singing, dancing, music, and then now video photography. And I felt like there's something that I kept on hearing is creatives don't understand business, and I was that person. And I'm still learning. I'm not at a place where I'm like, oh yeah, I know everything about business. Because there's layers to this, there's levels to this. But for now, I understand what I understand with business, and there's some people that could learn from that. And I feel like that's why I was like, okay, let's go on this journey for one, to help me become a better communicator, to help me build and formulate some of the things that I have in my head. Because there's one thing where, as creatives, we think a lot about the thing, but we don't implement the thing sometimes. We stay in this cycle and we're just going around in our heads, but we're not actually putting that out there.
Dude, and I think also just when it comes to perfectionism, right? That's kind of the definition of that. Is you think you have to make it so perfect in your mind that it never comes out to reality.
Yeah, you know? We actually had a part on that where it's like, anything we do is never going to be perfect. We're flawed. We're flawed human beings, so how could we make something perfect?
But see, I think that's where the beauty is in it, though, right?
Exactly.
It's like it's never going to be perfect. But if somebody can see themselves in your story, for example, where you hit the nail on the head, right? Where you're like, I was there.
Yeah.
That's how you communicate.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you're speaking to that person because you've been there.
Right. Now that's good. And that's where, a lot of brand, that's where you grow. That's where a lot of companies grow. It's like, this was me. I needed this thing. So let me find a solution for that thing.
Yep.
But don't stay in that place of like, oh, this is the solution. But you grow out of that and figure out like how to bring other people on the journey and how to, leverage the thing that you're doing, the skills that you already have, within you and build something with that.
Absolutely.
I've had conversations with, multiple of my friends right now, and that's where we're all at, is how do we leverage the skill and ability that we have, because I feel like the thing that people have, especially as a creative, is something that was given from a young age.
100%.
From a young age. And sometimes, everyday life and just trying to figure out, this thing of money and whatever finances, I just need to take care of myself right now, we lose that part of ourselves, But if people truly go back to the gift and the talent that they have, they could really build something off of that.
Dude, I think we're so, like, when little kids are little, right? They're so joyful, they're so happy, right? And, we're going to go here eventually, I think, on the podcast, but I think it's because they're so close to God, right? Like, they have their God-given gifts and abilities.
Exactly.
Right? And they're so pure.
Yes.
And I think as we start to grow up, man, the world starts to add a bunch of things onto us, right? Like, you've got to do this, you've got to be this, you got to have that, you've got to, otherwise you're not the, picture perfect model of like what someone should be in society, man. But I think, a lot of the process, of like, for example, finding your brand voice or even like finding out what you're supposed to do here is kind of getting rid of a lot of that stuff that we're told when we're brought up, right?
Yeah.
And I think people, for example, my parents had good intentions, when they were telling me things, but it's like I have my own unique experience here that I'm supposed to come and create.
And it's different.
And it's different
from theirs.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, that's true. What would you say, for those that are, they feel like I have a voice, I have something, but I'm an introvert. I don't feel like I could share it. I don't feel like I need to be on video, or I don't feel like I could be on video because when I'm on video, it's all over the place. What would you tell that person?
Well, I think, it's kind of about disconnecting it from you. And if you really want to have an impact, like making it about the other person, So it's like, there's a lot of things, man, that are scary right in this life where we're like, man, I don't know if I want to do that, go speak on stage or even go record a video, for example, if you're an introvert, or go talk to somebody, right? But I think one of the things about creatives, right, is you can be the best creative in the world, but if like nobody knows who you are, right, like you're doing the world a disservice because there's gifts that God's not able to use you for, right? So I think, for someone who's there, it's kind of flipping that in their head to be like, oh my God, me, right? Like I'm scared of this, to where it's like, no, like if I don't do this, like I'm not allowing God to come in and like speak through me,
and then it's gonna use someone else.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about like the weaknesses, right? Like that's a big theme in the Bible. It's like, God uses people who are not exactly the picture of that to go and change that.
That's a valid point, man.
So I think if someone is, for example, saying I'm an introvert, I'm like, that's probably exactly why you should be doing video, right? Or should be doing something, because just imagine the transformation of that. And if you can do it, then someone who's an introvert as well is going to see you and be like, oh man, like Akin did it, or Matt did it, or whoever.
Yeah, guys, I am an introvert. I am that guy.
That's awesome.
Like I grew up quiet. I grew up, in class where people get in trouble for talking a lot. I got in trouble for not talking at all. That's to the point of the introvert that I am. So doing this and going on this journey has definitely, opened my eyes to new possibilities and things that I never really imagined. And that's why I keep preaching this thing. Go create content. We are meant to create. We're creative beings. I actually write this in my ebook that is coming out soon. Here is the idea that in Matthew 20:25, that's the only time where I really see God taking away a talent from someone and giving it to someone else. It's because they didn't do anything with it. The guy that dug the ground and put it into the ground and didn't do anything with it, it actually takes that talent and gives it to the one that had the most.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Not the one that had, because there's one that had 10 at the end of it. There's one that had 8 at the end of it. It gave it to one that had the most.
Yep.
You know, and there's something to that. It's like, if you do not use what God has given you to use, obviously that passage, yes, it's not necessarily about your gifts and ability. It's about stewarding your finances.
But the thing is, it is though, right?
The principle
of it definitely is. You're spot on with that, man.
Yeah. So the principle is that, you know, that if you don't use this thing that God has given you, you could lose it, basically. You know, so.
Plus, but I do think also the best way to honor God, right, is to like live life to the full ability and full capacity of who He made you to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're God's highest form of creation, right? And I believe, right, like we're put on this earth to make a difference and to change lives.
Yeah.
So by not tapping into that, I guess, gift, man, or not wanting to get out of your comfort zone, you know, it's one, it's kind of disrespectful to you, and I don't want this to be taken out of context, right? But I think it also is disrespectful to your creator to be like, oh, hey, you know, I'm not gonna go be who you designed me to be, right? And that's like, if I had kids, man, you know, like when I have kids, I want them to be just happy, right?
Yeah.
But I think part of being happy is that you are like kind of stretching yourself, right, to become what it is to you, right? To you, like what you want to become, right? But like that takes effort, you know, and I think if people aren't given that full effort, man, it's tough, because it's like, man, like, you know, you're not realizing your full ability here.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
that's good. That's good. So what would you say to someone that they started, you know, with this style of voice and speaking on the internet and putting out this kinds of content, but they have emerged and evolved into this refined person, and their voices change, their messages change? Do you feel like they will get lost in the pool of marketing, or do you feel like it actually is for the betterment of them?
It's 100% for the betterment, because the thing is that like the reason why we like brands, right, is because we get to see them grow, you know? So if somebody, for example, is a different person now, it's really important to like document, right? Like in real time of like what you're kind of going through, you know? So I know you were telling me like you have videos from like 12 years ago, right? When you were dancing.
Oh man.
It's sick. It's sick because you can look back and be like, yo, Akin's a real person, right? Because this podcast, you're going to blow up, man. You're going to have like all the success with your ebooks and everything else. And
appreciate it, bro.
You know, of course, man. And it's like to be able to see though the development of who you are now to who you're becoming,
right?
Like that just makes your story like bigger, right? So your ability to go speak on different topics and different things that people are going to be interested in is actually a really good thing, because your audience that's been with you, right, and following you through this journey, and be like, man, like this is cool. Like I started following him because, you know, he had a podcast on video and you know, production and whatnot, but it's like now he's out doing all these crazy things, and I'm like, I love that because I've gotten to see his journey and I'm invested, right? People get invested into that.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I appreciate that, bro.
Of course, bro.
I really do.
I believe
and it's great to, you know, to see even you coming on and seeing your journey so far. You know, it's been really cool to watch you at the church. That's how we met.
Yeah.
You know, I met you at church one day randomly. I'm trying to think how I met. I just saw you and I was like, I've seen this guy on the internet before. That's the power of marketing, right?
That is the power of marketing.
You know?
Yeah, man.
So I was like, I've seen that face before. So I just walked up to you, I introduced myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm Akin, the creative director here. You know, I know you do video. Let's connect, basically.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
You know? So it's been cool to see you even from then to now. I feel like there's been a shift in the way you're allowing God to use you. And it's been really cool to see, man.
100%.
There's so much more that is put within you for you to do, so much more that you're even gonna carry because of your yes to Him. You know, a lot of times we think that God, that He only calls us because we're qualified, but not. It qualifies you as you go along, and
He calls them unqualified.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's where God's glory can actually shine through.
Right.
Because we can't take the credit, man.
Yeah, it's not on our own doing.
No.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So I'm excited to see your journey. Excited to see, you know, where you're gonna go from here.
Dude, likewise, man.
Yeah, that's cool. So video agency called Visual Collection. I'm Creative Collection, Visual Collection. That's dope, man.
That is awesome.
You don't play. That's
yeah,
crazy.
It's not a coincidence, bro.
It's not
a coincidence.
All right. So Visual Collection. How did you build your agency to what it is now?
Dude, so the power of like, honestly, like word of mouth, you know, when I first started off, actually your story when we were talking before, like when the cameras weren't on, right?
Yeah.
Really resonated with me because when I first started filming videos, I had no camera, you know? So I had to be resourceful and like use other people's cameras, man, like do that whole route. But I think it's just been like, you know, my dad had a really good work ethic, you know, and like taught me a lot about just how to be a good man, you know, and like was always like made sure to take care of people, you know? And I think through that, I just realized I'm like, man, like no matter what it is that I do, like I want to do it to the best of my ability.
Nice.
You know? So when I was first starting off, man, like I would shoot videos for free, you know, like I would use my camera as a networking tool. I didn't even know, you know, like I said, I didn't even have a camera, right? But I was going to like these Phoenix Fashion Week events and all these different events, man.
Nice.
And I was like, you know, I'd go up and shake their hands and be like, hey man, you know, like it's great to meet you. If you ever need anything, like let me know.
That's cool.
And I didn't even know how to, I didn't know how to edit, bro. I had just bought a course on how to learn all this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the part of it, right? Is you got to kind of get yourself out of your comfort zone and get into rooms with people who can, you know, like potentially hire you, you know? And that's kind of an art in itself, right? Of like finding the right rooms, you know, because there's different rooms you can kind of get into and like a customer profile for an agency. But that's kind of where it started, man, is the agency really started with like, hey, like, you know, I want to do a good job for whoever it is that I'm working with. And luckily, like all of our work right now is just word of mouth, you know, like we do a really good job for somebody else and business comes in, man. But that's kind of
that's crazy because this is the second time I'm like hearing that. Obviously, you hear sometimes that word of mouth, that's not a good marketing strategy. Yeah. You know, but as a I think they're in Portugal. They're like web-based, they build beautiful brand websites and stuff. And their business model is through word of mouth. And she was breaking down, I don't know if you've seen this with Chris Do. You know Chris Do?
Chris Do, yeah.
Yeah, so she did a interview with him. And she was breaking down the systems and the way she goes about doing like word of mouth marketing. And it's crazy, bro. It's really cool to see, you know, like if you have a good product and a good service.
That's it right there. You have to have a good product and good service though that gets people talking. And that's because you got to think, man, like when you're, so, you know, like I worked at an ads agency, right? As a creative director. So paid media is a thing, right? You have to pay to get in front of people, right? But it's like, you know, the beautiful thing about like word of mouth marketing, right, is that like you're not paying to acquire that customer, right? Like, yes, it's your time, but the referrals that come from doing a good job, man, supersede whatever, like let's say someone's running paid ads, right? You'll make money on the front end, right? But if they don't deliver a really good product or service, right, and like make sure that person gets the best experience possible, then they're not going to have like reoccurring revenue
for sure,
or the lifetime value of that client, right? They're going to work with them one time and be like, that person's like, nah, like they got me with really good marketing, but like their product sucked.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So the most important thing is, even if you're good at marketing yourself, is have a really good
dude. I think the product is the most important thing.
Yeah,
it is literally the foundation.
It's a foundation. That's the thing that I feel like I've been building. It was not I've been doing this for 8 years. You know, I've had my business for 8 years, but it wasn't until about 2 years ago when I felt like I have something here.
Yeah.
You know, and also it's that belief in yourself that you could actually get there. You know, a lot of times we doubt ourselves that it's like, there's this other person that is doing it better. They'll just hire that person, you know, over me, where it's like, no, just develop yourself. Do the thing that you say you do and do it well. And then you see the growth in that.
I do think you hit on something really important though. A lot of times, like the reasons why I think like some creatives don't land bigger projects, right, is their own identity.
True.
Right. How they see themselves and their relationships with that, like doesn't allow them to close bigger clients because they don't feel like they're deserving of that. So it's really important that as we're, you know, growing as creatives, we're not just growing in our creative abilities, but we're growing as people, right? So it's like, hey, how's your discipline? How's your fitness? How's your mindset, right? How are all those things? Because those things contribute to you being an overall better human. Right. So that way you're more effective in business. But it really helps change your identity, man, when you start seeing like your body kind of transform, right? And start seeing your confidence kind of grow. Because one, you know that you're going to do a good job, right? Like that's kind of there is, I think, a curve, right? When it comes to that, it's like, you might not know anything in the beginning, so you can't really charge a whole lot. But once you start getting a little bit more, you're like, okay, like I actually know how to do this, you know? So there's definitely like, I think, an inflection point. But I think the confidence is something that I think a lot of younger creators, you know, if they were to walk into rooms, you know, and just be confident about their abilities, you'd be surprised, man. Because I think at the end of the day, people don't really care what age you are, don't care what race you are, don't care like any of that stuff. It's like, what result can you get me? And if you can get them a result, that's where it does, those other things don't matter anymore.
Yeah. No, that's really cool, man. That's really cool. So how could someone boost up their confidence a little bit more?
Dude, I think what part of it's like reps, right? And I mean that like in the literal sense of like, you know, when you're in the gym, like you do more weights, right? Like you're more confident in what you're doing, but it's really reps too, man, in everything, you know? So if you're like nervous to go talk to people, right, to like present your service, like you should probably go talk to people to present your service, because unless you get those reps in, right, and like maybe work with someone like you who can help them understand how to do that, right, if you're going to end up creating some sort of community or something like that, it's like, one, it's like you have the information, right, of how do I do this, but you have to go execute that information, right? So I think the way that you grow in confidence, man, is, you know, you go out and get reps in, but you also like, I think one of the biggest things also as men, how you grow in confidence is you keep your word, you know? So the more, like you said earlier, right, I'm doing this thing and I'm following through on it and I'm doing it. That's, I think, what builds a lot of confidence, because I think a lot of people, you know, they say they want to do these things, right? They have these visions, or they might be telling some people like, oh, I want to start a business, but it's been maybe a year or two and, you know, everyone has their time, right? Like it's cool, but I think if you want to grow in confidence, so it's like, hey, how are you, you know, keeping the promises that you make to yourself and to other people?
That's true. How do you keep the promises that you make to yourself first? You know, which is important. It's like when you become the man of your word, you know that, okay, I say I'm going to do something, you actually follow through and do it. It builds your confidence that, oh, I did the thing that I said I was going to do. So now when someone asks you to do something and you say yes and you actually follow through, you're like, oh, wow, I got this done too. And then you keep going. That's really cool, man. That's really cool. Man. So we're talking offline, and you said, you know, you're kind of like switching your business model in a different way where you're not reaching, you don't want to reach as wide, but you want to go deep.
Dude, absolutely.
Talk through that. Yeah,
man. So the reason why, right, is because I got to, when I was a creative director, right, at that ads agency, I got to see a lot of like different, you know, businesses who were at different revenue points. You know, some were making 20 grand a month, some were at 120 grand a month, somewhere at like 250, right? And I just realized, I'm like, man, like when it comes to the agency model, you can go a couple different routes, right? You can build a ginormous team, right? Do a bunch of different things. And like it ends up becoming like a logistical nightmare, you know, where it's like you have way too much to deal with and like way too much staff and some people love it, right? So by all means. But I think the model that I got exposed to was like, hey, instead of like going and trying to catch a bunch of different like people, it's like just work with a few select people, right? Like a handful. I'm talking like 5 to 7, right? And then get really good results for those people. And you become more of like a branding and marketing partner for them, right? As opposed to just like a video agency. You lead with video, right? Because you understand, like, you pitch them on, hey, this is why it's so powerful. Your ads can convert higher, right? You're already spending money on ads, right? You have already got people eyeballs on your brand. Like if we can tweak this a little bit, we can help increase like your effectiveness now. But you really become more of like a brand and marketing partner, and that's where your value really comes in, man. Because, you know, we're in the early stages, because I'm pivoting the model as we speak, right? But it's like, it's cool because, you know, the thing we're on track for is like, hey, we're gonna not just like, we're gonna charge you a fee, right? Like a lower monthly fee, but like a percentage of like the increase in revenue. Which is a different model.
I see.
Yeah, and that's cool. where the real, you know, money comes in, because you're both invested too. So I think it's a great way for clients to be like, okay, cool. Like I'm paying you less, but like I know that you need to perform and do a good job. So if you work, you know, and then you got to think, you know, if you take someone from like, let's say 20 grand a month to 100 grand a month or more, right? And it is a complex thing to do, right? But it's like, if you do it, you get a percentage of like, I don't know, 10%, 15%, which for a business owner, right? If you're giving them an additional amount of revenue, right? It's like, it's a no-brainer. I'll pay you 10, 15% of whatever, you know?
That's cool, man. So let's go even deeper. Let's see if you're open to this question. All right. Do you have some kind of framework strategy that you use to take someone from 20K a month to 100K a month?
So you know how I told you about the whole kind of doing work for free, right? Or for like a reduced price, right? That's kind of the stage that we're in, because the agency that I was at, right? Like that's kind of what we did, is we help people scale. And that was through paid media, right? So like YouTube ads and creating a framework for that, a funnel, and like doing it that way.
Gotcha.
You know?
Okay.
So right now we're kind of in the earlier stages, so I don't really have like a blueprint, right? Of like, hey, like from here to here, you know, because like that's kind of obviously what we're doing. I'd love to do an updated podcast.
Oh yeah,
you know?
definitely,
like,
man. We're
like 6 months to a year from now, bro, and just be like, hey, bro, here's the case study. But you know, I think if if I was to use a case study that we currently have right now, right? There's these guys, right? They're crushing it in business, like doing really, really well right now. And their whole thing is they're called Launch My Agency, right?
Okay.
So they help people launch a social media agency, but their product is legit,
Really?
right? Like really, really good.
Nice.
Their customer testimonials are amazing. Like it's a done for you product, right? So they do pretty much everything for the clients, right? Teach them how to do everything.
Gotcha.
They, however, like they've done not organic, right? Because they're running paid media, but like they have no branding, like no branding, no nothing, bro. Like, you know, but they're getting really good results. Like, you know, their revenue numbers are like 200K plus a month, you know? So these guys, you know, we went in and kind of identified, I'm like, hey, cool. Like, what do you really offer, right? Like, what do you guys really do? What's your highest package? So they have something called a VIP CEO day, right? Where someone flies in and like, they basically teach them, you know, yeah, here's how you do everything. And like, they do like a 1-day intensive, right? And then they do like a year long also, like we're coaching you on this sort of deal. And I told him, I'm like, hey, like, you know, if you end up documenting that, right? And obviously like sending it out to the leads that you're currently working with, like, because I think a lot of the thing is like, you know, you show, you don't tell. Right. So if you're able to show them what it is that you do for other clients, you know, and give them a sneak peek of the value you're going to give them in the program, like you guys will probably close more business, man. And it's cool, dude. I haven't posted a testimonial yet because they're one of the partners that we want to work with to like really increase it over a long time. But that one video that we made for them, bro, that they've just sent out to like, you know, like leads that are already in their like pipeline, right? They closed an additional $200,000 worth of revenue.
Nice.
From one video.
One video.
And that's where, like I was telling you, man,
it's like being strategic with video.
Yeah.
You know, knowing where to place it and how to place it.
100%, man. And that's where, you know, it's complicated to say, right? Like, how do you go from 20K a month to like 200K or like 100K or whatever? Because for them, they've done a lot of the work to get there. Right. But I think one thing that somebody who's a video production, you know, person or anybody who's a creative watching this can pick up is like, if you work with the right clients, bro, who already have these kind of systems set up and you fill the gap of what they're missing, it's like, dude, they just created $200,000 worth of additional revenue, right? And it came from one video.
That's the cheat code right there.
That's the cheat code, bro.
That's the cheat code. That's good, man.
Yeah.
So find people that are already doing well because you're doing well. You've already built up this brand for yourself. You have the skills, you have the ability, you know what you're talking about. So then instead of trying to find people like that, just starting off, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're finding your new model is to find people that are already doing well and then find what they're missing
100%.
And then help them target that.
100%.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I think, you know, as like video business owners, right, it's like understanding the value of your avatar, right? The person that you're working with is super important because I think in the beginning, I was trying to like work with people who were like maybe a year or two into business, like you said, totally fine, right? Yeah. Totally nice people, amazing, like they're going to do well, but they don't usually have the budget to pay you like a higher amount because they're just not at that point in their business right now as it is, right? So I think for someone who's watching this, it's really important for them to understand like, hey, let me go for a bigger fish, right? Whether they're doing more monthly sales, like, you know, from an e-com side, or like they have a high ticket program or whatever, but they're doing like a pretty good amount of volume. They're in business maybe 3 years, whatever, a little bit more time in business because they're able to, you know, the numbers make sense for them. If they're doing like, let's say even 20K a month or whatever, to pay someone $2,000 a month to create videos for them is a no brainer, right? Versus someone who might be starting off and they're just making like $5,000 a month. And if someone who's a video production, you know, specialist or whatever is gonna like try to get them on a 2K package, it's just the numbers just don't make sense.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
did you land this client by word of mouth as well?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
man. That's cool.
Yeah, man. But it was also like I was telling you earlier, right, when we were having the conversation offline, dude, masterminds. You know, the agency that I worked at before, like the highest the highest revenue month they did was like 250 when I was there, right? All of that happened through word of mouth,
nice,
and like organic social media on YouTube,
nice.
Which is nuts.
That's cool,
you know?
man. That's really cool.
Yeah, but it's you put yourself in the right rooms, man, with the right people, and it makes a difference.
Nice, man. Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing a mastermind?
I want to. That's part of the.
Let's do one.
Yeah, dude.
I'm sitting here honestly,
yeah, let's
like,
do it, man. Yeah, that'd be great.
One.
I think it'd be sick, you know, because I think, I think there's two sides of like a demographic that I want to help. Okay. You know, there's obviously the business owners, right, who need to understand the importance of like video and all that kind of stuff, right? And again, I'm only helping a handful. So I'd have to find another medium, whether it's a course or like some sort of like done with you
Something
program,
like
right,
that.
to help the rest of them.
For sure.
Right? But it's like, I want to help them, but I also want to help the creative community.
Bro, that's literally same thing I've been saying.
Yeah.
I like the business. Obviously, that's how you're gonna make your revenue and do all that with the
For sure.
business owners, and then giving back to the creatives that need to grow in that area.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
That's it, man.
I have this idea. I'm gonna talk to you after this because I have this idea.
Yeah, man.
That's cool. That's really
dude.
cool.
I'm excited to hear it, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what kinds of mistakes do you think you've made when you were building your video agency?
Dude, I think, I hired like people that were really close to me, like some of my best friends. And we laugh about this now, right? Because like he's actually working with me again now. But it's like, if you're not careful about who you hire and how you like delegate the work, and also when you're working with friends, right? If you don't like set proper expectations with them about like, hey, dude, this is what I really need from you.
Yeah.
Like, we're boys no matter what outside of this, but like, I
right
need you to
now,
come through
yeah,
on this,
yeah.
right? Like this is the role and the job that I'm like, hiring you for. It's something that I wish I would have learned a little bit earlier on, right? Because I had to sit down with like one of my best friends and be like, hey man, like,
Yeah. And that's a tough conversation.
and
to have.
it sucks, bro. Because and he knew it was coming, but I'm like, and I even told him, I was like, hey, bro, I'm not really like mad. I'm a little bit more disappointed for sure, but like, I love you, man, and I'll still be here. And it sucks because you're good, and I want to work with you, but like, I need you to come through,
Yeah.
And that's a whole other conversation on creatives, like a lot of times, like the lack of follow through is a big issue with that.
Yeah.
But I think it's when you hire the right people, man, and set proper expectations with them, and also hire overseas.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Okay.
whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because bro, editors, like when it comes to editors specifically, right? And I know the question is going to be like, how do you find them after this? But it's like, if you can find talent overseas to edit your content for you, one, at least the Philippines, man, they're super, super like happy to work for you.
Yep.
Right. They're immensely grateful because in their country, like what you're paying them is making a big difference in their lives. Right. So this, like the weight that the work that you're setting them has is a lot higher, but they're just hardworking people, man.
Yeah.
And I think the numbers, if you're like a video agency owner, like they make a lot of sense if you can pay someone, a very small amount, like comparatively speaking to like, let's say hiring an editor full-time here for like, I don't know, $3,500 a month at like $5,000,
Right.
And
over there, it's a lot less.
it's like,
You
I mean,
pay
really,
someone-
like, listen, like I'll give away like the numbers and whatnot, but
Yeah.
you can find people for like, I don't know, bro, like as low as $1,000, to like, I don't know, $1,500, $1,750,
Yeah.
and obviously like, it's like on the lower end, right? They're not going to be as talented. So you're going to have to coach them up. And like,
Right.
there's that kind of difference, but it's like, it's just nuts, man, what you can do with like, overseas kind of labor, because like I said, man, they're just really hardworking people. And
Sure.
especially for the one thing that everyone hates to do, which is editing.
Yeah.
It's like, they actually enjoy doing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Were you were in Japan recently? Did you have you been to the Philippines at all?
I have.
Did you meet your editor when you went there?
I did, man.
Ah.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not how I met them though.
Right.
Right? Like I
But
met
you,
them through
but
a
you were
different-
like, hey, I'm here. Like, let's meet up.
yeah, 100%, bro, because that's part of the, like experience. And I think for them, man, like, there's a lot of people that have talked about going out there, right, that they've worked with and stuff
Right.
like that. But just taking that extra step.
That's cool, bro. That's
they
really
were
cool.
really grateful, and they're like,
I
man,
bet.
like no one's actually, they've talked about like coming out here and like they haven't.
Yeah.
And
That's
just
really
seeing them
cool.
happy like that, bro, was like it made my day.
That's
know?
cool, bro. That's really good.
And the Philippines, for anyone who wants to go travel to the Philippines, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
insane. Like gorgeous.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
dope, man.
And cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, man.
That's cool, bro. All right. So the mistake, of hiring your friend, did you see, dropping your business when during that time?
Yeah. Yeah, because as a business owner, right? Like the key for you is to like not have to do everything.
Right.
So at that point when I let him go, I had to like jump back in and like start, like my time was wrapped up in there, and obviously like, like client experience, kind of like telling them, hey, like I've got, telling them like, hey, we've got to push back on these deadlines and stuff like that. So it's like not creating the best client experience too,
Yeah.
So those are kind of some of the lessons. But I think if I were to start 100% over again. I would start with the understanding that like I'm building this like for me not to work in it. Because I think a lot of people, you know, when they start a business, they start it because they're really good at something, which is understandable, you know? But I think as a business owner, your goal is to set up systems and processes and also a great team so that you don't have to do everything. And then that system is what really like, you know, creates the results for your clients. And at that point, you really do own a business that you can either sell or you can just keep collecting cash flow from. And it's not going to be 100% passive, you know? People are like, oh yeah, it's like, no, it's not, you know, like it's
even passive income is not passive.
It's not 100%, bro. You know,
it's something you got to do in some kind of way for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. So you learned that lesson, you know, you made the pivot by obviously letting it go. You dove right into the business again. How long did it take you again to find someone else to replace what you were doing?
Dude, it took me a good like 2 months, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, to find. You know, we've always been lean. You know, it's kind of been my philosophy. Like, it's not like you hire a ton of people, man.
Right.
Like, I think one thing that kind of sets us apart, right, is that like we're very like we move very fast, you know, and like our attention to detail is like a little bit, I think, better. To where when you do a lot of like pre-production on the front end, you know, and get really clear on what the client's vision is, and like let's say you kind of design the video before you actually film the video, right? Which is all about storyboarding.
Did you listen to our last podcast?
I don't know, no.
Bro, we literally talked
Really?
about that. Like, you know, creativity and structure is like the whole pre-production part, then going to production. It makes it so much easier. Then going to post-production is just plug and play easier at that point.
That's 100% it, dude. But so when you understand that though, that's when you can also have less fat, right, on production. Meaning, you know, I've gone to go like I filmed a TV pilot, you know, with the guys who produced 2.5 Men, right?
Nice.
And it was cool, but like the whole time while I was there, man, I was thinking, I'm like, man, there's way too many people on set. Like, you know, it's a different way of thinking, right? Versus like when you're a lean kind of like entrepreneur, right? You're like, okay, cool. We only need this. We don't need all this crazy equipment, right? This is the only objective what we're trying to grab. We don't also need like 3 people doing one job or standing around. I'm like, nah, man, like you can be a lot more lean. Yeah. And I think you were asking me like, what's the superpower, right? Like, or like what do you think you're the best at? And I'm like, I think it's always kind of been like seeing that, right? In the sense of like, you know, like what do we really need at the bare minimum, right? Or like, what can I get something for? And how can I get the most like value out of it?
Gotcha.
You know?
So efficiency in a sense.
Yeah, efficiency, man. Yeah. But I think it's like, yeah, man, it's just understanding that basically, you know, you can do a lot with a little. Right. You know?
So being strategic with your time, with your efforts, and just being efficient in doing that. Yeah. That's cool. So how many people do you run with right now?
Dude, so right now we're a 4-person team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's cool because like I told you we're lean, right?
Yeah.
But it's fun, man. Like, you know, these people I've been working with for a while now, and like it's kind of like family, you know? So it's funny because I had hired somebody else on for a production, right? Like somebody, like another friend, right? For a production recently over in California. Love him to death. Yeah. Like love him. Right. But like it's different when you, for example, work with someone for a long time and they pick up on the habits of like how you do things. Yeah. And that's why I think it's also important to like have people shadow you too. Yeah. I think, you know, if you really do want to go that route of building like a bigger production company. But it's like, it's crazy, man, because like me working with like, for example, Jeremiah, who's kind of like my right-hand man, he's so locked in and dialed in, man, that he does the work of like 2 people, you know? Nice. So that's kind of what I was telling you, where it's like, you know, you train somebody up and they kind of understand how you work, and you get more of a bang for your buck at that point.
Nice. How did you break down the roles, you know, roles of the people that you have hired on your team?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, it's you got to understand like the function of what it is you're doing, right? So if we're creating a video, obviously you need like the storyboard, right? The creative direction. So I kind of take more of that role, right? Like the creative director role of like casting the vision, and also the sales role of like talking to clients. Right. But we obviously need production people, you know, so that's where Jeremiah and like another one of our guys comes in. Okay. Like obviously we have the editing role as well. But the good thing about a video business, bro, is like you don't really need too many people to execute it. You know, you need a lot of people in volume if you're going to be executing in volume, because that's where that comes in. But I mean, if you're thinking about like starting a video production business, right? Like, yeah, you need leads, you need, you know, to close people, right? Whether it's word of mouth or you're paying for leads. So there's like a sales role, right? And there's also, I think, like a client fulfillment role, right? That I also kind of play, right? Where it's like you're managing the relationship with the client. You're letting them know, hey, here's the timelines. Here's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
You also do have like the creative director role, like I was telling you, right? Where it's like, hey, like you talk to the client, you figure out the vision. What are we doing? What's going on, right? And then you coordinate with the rest of the team to figure out, hey, here's the shot list. Here's your storyboard. Here's the production dates. You know, is what we need. And then production happens, right? So obviously you gather all your equipment, you know, you get everything kind of ready. You have everything kind of like dialed in for like what the objectives and like the checklist kind of is, you know, for the day of production.
Yeah.
But dude, you said it earlier. It's like day of production should really be as smooth as like you turn on the camera, you go, and like you already know everything that needs to happen. And obviously like there's curveballs that happen, dude, like equipment malfunctions and stuff happens like on set, you know, but it really is kind of as simple as that, you know, and then obviously, you know, once you have the footage, you kind of upload it to the editors and then they take care of the whole thing. But I think the more that you can kind of figure out like your client journey, right, and like what it is that you do from start to finish, the more you can kind of figure out what roles you need, right, and like if you can stay lean, right, it's a higher profit margin for you at the end of the day.
For sure.
Because you're not having to pay out, you know, like let's say I was trying to grow and scale this out, right? Like I'd have to figure out how many customers I would need to justify like me hiring somebody on full time to just be like a creative director, you know, or hiring someone on full time to be like all these different roles of like what it would be.
Yeah.
You know,
that's really cool. That's really cool. Thanks for breaking that down.
Of course,
man. You know, for anyone listening that you want to build your own thing, you want to build a video production company, this is the way to do it. You know, you start by figuring out what it is that you want to do, you know. Find your voice, find however you want to take your client from point A to B, and then figure out the people that you need in the middle of that.
100%.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, bro, because I know we're talking about this before, but like what even inspired you to like want to start your agency, right? Or like I know you, because that's kind of where we left off in the story, right? Where you were telling me like, hey, like I was going to school for psychology and then I was going to get my master's, and I think you got your master's.
Yep.
But how did you even realize like for you that this was a business that like, you know, had some potential, or that you can even like, you know, turn this into like something that can pay you?
Yeah.
You know?
So, you know, I started in dance. So I was dancing. I was filming my own dance videos. And then from there, I decided, okay, if I could do this for myself, then I could probably do it for someone else. And that's all I needed. I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. It was called Rhythm Creative Lab at the point because of my background in dance and drums and music. So Rhythm Creative Lab. And then from there, just doing a whole bunch of work, learning as I go, learning about, you know, being this people person that I never was. I was always an introvert. Yeah. So now I'm having to like talk to people and converse with people and say, hey, do you need a video? I'm that guy, you know. But just learning all of that in the midst of it, and eventually rebranding, becoming this, that we are a creative collection. And from there, just really understanding the blueprint of where we're going next has been really cool. And just diving into that.
I'm excited to hear your vision on it, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I got you. I'm going to talk to you after this. Because it's still in my head. I'm still figuring it out, but I think it'll be really cool.
I think one thing too, man, that I was actually talking to someone about this before I came over here, is that I think, you know, as creatives, sometimes it's so hard for us to like see it, right? Or like work on our own brands or understand that. Yeah. Because we're good at like seeing it for other people.
Yeah.
But when you know, there's a saying that I really like. It's like, you can't see the label when you're inside the box, right? So if you're really in it, it's hard for you to be like, oh man, I see the full vision of like how to make it happen. So that's why I think, you know, back to what we were talking about earlier with community, I think it's really, really good to have like other people in your circle, you know, that you can like confide in and be like, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking to do. Like, what do you see? Or like, what do you think?
For sure. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That's a good segue into the next thing, which is, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
It'd be like that, bro.
No, I'm just kidding, bro. So this has been good, man. This has been a great conversation for anyone that is looking, number one, to start a video production company. Number two, to figure out your voice and leverage the thing that it is that you have within. So I don't think you could ever build something without knowing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and also I think the second part of that thing is, as you build something, you know yourself even more. So it's almost like a cycle. If you want to know yourself more, go build something, because you figure out who you are. If you want to figure out who you are, go build something. If you want to build something, go figure out. It's like it goes back and forth.
100%,
because the more this entire thing, what it has done for me to your point, to your question as to why did I feel like I was to build a video production company. I don't know. I don't think like I set out to say this is the thing I was gonna do. I actually had no picture of where I am right now. You know, let's say, so it's been 8 years ago, you know, so let's say 10 years ago, I had no picture of where that I was gonna be here. But because I said yes to whatever I felt was at the right thing in that moment, that's why we're here. Imagine if I said no. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna focus on what I want to.
So there's this story I want to tell you right about when I was in Japan. So, you know, first time ever staying at hostels, which are dope, by the way. Like, you meet a lot of different people who are also traveling, and like it's a vibe, right? But I met this chick who got a tattoo, right? And she was telling me about she was gonna get some other tattoo, right? But she walked back and she's like, look at this tattoo that I got. And the tattoo, bro, in Japanese said, yes, God. And I think when you can say yes to God and that calling, even if it's scary, right? Like, you're an introvert and you're doing video, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's respect.
Yeah.
You know? But you said yes to God, which is what's allowing this whole new road for you, right, to unfold, because you're being obedient to the command. Definitely. You know, and you're not. I think it's one thing to, you know, like, say yes, but like to really commit to it full force in your heart, to be like, all right, let's go.
Let's go.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful journey. So like building something, it teaches you a lot about yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And that's been really cool to see and just develop the ideas and things that I've had in my head. Even I watched a podcast that I did 6 years ago, and literally I forgot about that. I actually filmed that podcast, to be honest. And I went back to it. I'm like, yo, I'm literally still saying the same thing.
Yeah.
More refined, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm still in the same path that I've been. Even though I didn't feel like I was walking the same path, it's like God deposited this within me, deep within me, that I was like, oh, I'm just being.
Dude, I think you hit something really important there, and I think it's that, like, you know, there's these deposits, you know, that are made into our lives throughout our journey that they don't get unveiled to us until later. But there's a promise on every single person's life.
Yes,
every single person.
Definitely.
So for someone who's might be watching this and they're like, man, like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, just keep going.
Keep going.
If you keep going, it'll get revealed to you. The only way, and this is like something I heard when I was like 17, man, but the only way that you lose is if you quit or you do nothing.
Yeah.
If you keep going even just a little bit every single day, you're going to find a result that's like that you're looking for and that's waiting for you because you did not quit and you kept going.
Yeah. Yeah. You keep moving forward.
That's
I have this saying that is like, if you could go fast enough. You have to go fast enough to get to where you're going, but slow enough not to crash. You know, it's two things happening here. You're continuing to move towards a destination, like just on a journey. There's no destination. Just on a journey, you're moving forward with something, but you're not stopping, you know. But again, you're going slow enough to be able to learn what you need to learn along the way.
Dude, so that same client I was telling you about, right? Part of like the uncovering process, right, for their brand, they told me about one of their core values, right, as a company. And one of their core values is we move fast, but we don't rush. And I'm like, dang, that's so good, man. You know, because I think it kind of ties really into what you're saying, where it's like, you know, you take your time enough to really understand where you're at. Like, because you got to think, man, and this is going on a whole different tangent, but like the only thing that we have is now. Yeah. Right? Like, the past is the past and the future hasn't happened yet. So if we can learn to be present in the moment, right? That's the greatest gift that we can give ourselves, because it's the only thing that's really real. And you know, yes, we want to move fast towards these goals and these objectives and these things, man. But once you get to the mountaintop, like, what? Then what?
Exactly.
Then what, right?
Especially if you like rush yourself there.
Yeah.
And when you aren't ready to be there, you're gonna lose everything.
You'll fall off the mountain.
You'll fall off the mountain.
Yeah. You'll get thrown off the mountain if you, because, you know, this is one of the biggest things I think when I was younger that I really, really was like aware of. I think was like, man, I don't want to get my like dream like wife, for example, like not be ready for her, you know, and like lose her. Or like, same thing in business, right? I don't want to like get myself into this opportunity, right? And then like everything that I really wanted, I'm not able to keep, you know, because it's one thing to get there. It's a whole other thing to keep it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Man, this has been good, bro.
That's
Is
been fire.
there anything else that you haven't shared that you really wanted to share today?
Dude, so it's funny because one of our clients, Bridger, I was with him a little bit earlier, and he's also kind of, what he does is he coaches people on sales, right? Like he's got a sales closing academy. The dude's a stud, you know, but he's also very like God-centered, you know? So I'm very grateful that we're working with him. But he asked me the same thing that you asked me, which I thought was really interesting. He's like, what's your superpower, man? Because we're getting clear also on my journey and like where I'm going and stuff like that, right? And I didn't really have an answer for him, man. Like I told him the same thing that I told you, where it's like, man, I can like, you know, like, I don't know, like I can find something and like flip it for more, but like whatever, you know, but I drove away, man. And I think, you know, the word that I really felt was like transformation, right? I think that's what you do when you're in business, and that's what you do when you're a creator, is you take something, right? Like this idea that a client has, and you transform it into this thing that's like the final result and the final product. Yeah. So I think like, you know, if someone's watching this, man, you don't understand, like, I don't know what your own superpower is, or, you know, you feel like you might not have value as a creator, right? Like you're just a videographer, you're just a whatever. It's like, no, man, you have the power to transform lives. You really do, because the skill set that you have, you can take something and like, you know, you can take nothing actually and turn it into something. Yeah. And that's quite literally transformation.
That's the definition of creating.
Yeah.
Like literally.
And those are the two words that actually came through, was creation and transformation, right? And they go hand in hand. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So
that's good stuff. And I'll add this to you. I'll submit this to you, is also just the way you are with your clients. Because I've seen you around with other people, and you always have this energy around you. This I don't want to use the word energy, but like this aura, you know, within that you accentuate to other people. And I think it's really cool to see. And I think people gravitate towards that. And I think that's what it is. Like people want to be around you. They want to notice, what is this thing? And I think, to your point, transformation, what is this transformation that we see within you first, to say, okay, I want to sit with this guy and I want to have a conversation with him. Point blank, period. Same. That's why you're here. Yeah. It's like, I want to have a conversation with this guy. So I think that's what it is people see something within you and they're like, huh, there's something to this guy.
I appreciate that, man.
I want to be around him. And I appreciate that more than you know. I think that's what it is.
You know, so again, it's just, there's no coincidences, right? Like God talks to us a lot, because Bridger, like you know, we're having a conversation. It was actually about him, you know, because we had other friends who came in to film a different mastermind right at that same complex, and they were there, and they're like, they kind of said the same thing that you said towards Bridger. They're like, man, I'm like, love your energy, bro. You know, and I brought it up to Bridger. I'm like, hey, man, you know, like that was, you know, like just so you know, like that was a really cool thing that they said, you know, because they're right. Yeah. And he's like, hey, Jesus, I like, this is what I think, but it's because like I'm filled with the Holy Spirit, man. Right. Like when you're filled with that, you know, like, and people can see it in your eyes, man. Like it's something that attracts people, because I think everyone's looking for love, really, right? They're looking for God. They just, I don't know, man. This can go down a whole rabbit hole with this, but it's like we're called to be lights, man. And I think I receive and I really appreciate your, you know, that because, man, like that's what I want to be here on this earth, is like, I want to help, like, be that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And the scripture says, you know, a light that cannot be dimmed. Do not light your candle and put it under the chair where people can't see. Yep. Light that candle, put it on top of a hill. Yep. Where that way you could actually shine brighter to other people to see. And it also continues to say you're the salt of this earth. You know, what is salt? Salt has been used for preservation. It's been used for taste, flavor, having that flavor, you know, to it. And I feel like that's what we're supposed to be. Dude. We're supposed to be love to other people. We're supposed to have this joy within, which is the Holy Spirit, like coming out. We're supposed to be patient and be kind and be loving and give back and do all those things. But obviously, we live in this earth and this world that wants to turn people against each other, that wants to also do the opposite of that. Yeah. But it's like, be the hope that other people want to see.
100%.
Be that.
And I think, you know, to kind of tie everything back full circle to something you said earlier, right? Yeah. It's like, you know, to be that light on that lampstand, right? It means for you to fully use your gifts that God gave you.
Exactly.
Right? Don't dim your shine. Don't, you know, try to be somebody else.
Yeah.
Like God made every single person uniquely them. So the more that you can tap into who you are,
Yeah.
right? And get rid of all the stuff, right? All the stuff that's not really you. Dude, the more that like you're going to shine in the way that God designed you to shine, which means, right? What happens when someone's in darkness, bro? They see a light. It draws them in.
Right.
You know? So the more that you can unpack who it is that you are and shine brighter in that way and fully use your gifts, right? I think that's what's gonna help light up this world, because the world, yeah, man, like there's a lot of darkness, man. And I think, you know, it needs a lot of light.
Definitely. That's good. And we'll end on that note, man. This has been good, bro. So we've talked through just a whole bunch of stuff. I hope this has blessed you. Where can people find you if they want to continue on in the story?
Dude, yeah, man. Just pretty simple, actually. The YouTube's going to be the same because I'm going to start posting on YouTube too.
Nice.
But Instagram is Jesus Creates.
Nice.
And YouTube will also be Jesus Creates.
That's perfect, man. So
yeah,
Jesus Create, go ahead and check him out. And if you haven't subscribed to the Creative Dan Pod, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you listen via audio, leave a comment, leave a review so other people can find us. We are here to continue to share stories of entrepreneurs and creatives and the things that are building, and just continue to share that. You know, it's already within. God already gave you something to create, so go create that thing.